Okay. It looks like we're back. All right. Sorry for the delay, boys. We were busy. Know what it is. But yeah, let's just go through this. This is gonna be fresh for me. We'll see if I can give some good real-time analysis and remember what was going on. All right. So I talked to Dodge about this game. There was like a really cheeky sort of like win condition, like right off rip with Iron Thorns, especially if he led Iron Treads or something. It was pretty unlikely it was going to end up happening, but he gets a favorable matchup here into Dragalge. Even if it's max Fizz Def, it's not really going to appreciate Iron Thorn, so goes into Electrode on the Dragon Dance. Now, the game plan actually still could have worked here, and this is something that I'm going to actually make a separate video on in the future about, but using your Terras with like the mind game of what you're weak to and then changing it to a different weakness, right? So Electrode being grass and electric, it is super unlikely it's just going to click the electric move on a predicted Terra here. Now, that's the second half of the mind game where maybe your opponent's thinking you're going to Terra and you just hold off on it because we know who has, you know, what Terra captain, yada yada. But it's generally pretty safe because the ball's in your court. If you have the option to Terra, you kind of control the pace of the matchup. So right here, this is, I think, Terra flying Iron Thorns. And if he went for the Terra plus another Dragon Dance right here, I think he just wins the game, right? Like, with Iron Thorn's coverage, booster attack, ×2 speed and attack, it would outspeed Electro to outspeed everything else on the team, including, like, a booster energy, you know, Iron Treads or Rapid Spin, you know, Scarf Gengar, whatever. It would outspeed everything. So he didn't go for the Terra, however, and now this game's blown open. It's gonna be real tough from here. I mean, like back to back, you know, Oka, he get the Oka with the Energy Ball and then the taunt on the Trick Room. Trick Room Ursaluna looked absolutely ridiculous into this game. Oh yeah, this was the was this the offensive one or was that the previous week? I'm getting all sorts of mixed up. Good chunk. Grimmsnarl has a really good attack stat for something that you think is going to be really passive. And for the most part it is with Parting Shot and screens, but actually pretty solid still. -2 special attack Dragalge, not going to do anything. The T-Spike going up is pretty annoying overall. Just trading ground moves here. Is there a better play? Probably not. So Ditto doesn't copy booster energy stuff, which is pretty unfortunate. Sucker Punch Okoing. That's cool. Like that's actually like really sick. Okay, so yeah. This is where I want to talk about some switches and stuff. Grimmsnarl's at 2%. In theory, it could come back in before the rocks were up, but now the rocks are up. You gotta keep in mind, there's no removal on Dodge's side, so Grimmsnarl comes in, it will die. And this is just like an optimization. I think Joe pretty much has the game kind of handily at this point. Yeah, first impression, and then go Ursaluna, get the Guts boost on the poison. Okay, yeah, so I think you just go for the Facade there and claim your kill. Also, everything's grounded. You could just go for like the Earthquake, because Low Kicks is definitely dying to a Guts boosted Earthquake at that range. Electrode might even. You know, Ursaluna hits like crazy, so. And then also, right there, going for the ground move and lowering your defense one stage. Could have saved yourself a little bit from that first impression. Now, after Trick Room's done, I mean, you're going to die to pretty much anything at that point on the special side. But somehow, Ursaluna's faster than Dragalge still, which is crazy. But at this point, with Dodge's pieces, Grimmsnarl's dead. Volcanian's not going to live an electric attack from 43. And Joe made a really good call with his Iron Treads here, where it doesn't have a ground move. And that was the optimization I was just talking about in the last turn. So you just don't go Grimmsnarl once this goes down. Go into anything else and then use it as a sack. Game's probably over anyway, but just going into it now, you don't get any momentum out of it. You just lose it for free. You know, maybe you go Ditto, originally force him out on like an electric move, then you sack Grimmsnarl on Iron Treads, then you can go into Volcanion or Ditto afterwards, you know, something like along those lines. But yeah, this is pretty much it. Iron Treads stays in and wins the game. But yeah, overall, really good game. I think if Dodge Terra'd Iron Thorns, he could have actually probably 6-0'd right off rip. So Joe definitely dodged a bullet there. Be a fun matchup in playoffs. All right, we got Ty and Graeme. Terra Fairy, Typhlosion. Okay, so maybe predicting the Uxie switch in, going for the Infernal Parade. Infernal Parade, I think, has a chance to burn too. So I honestly, like, not terrible if you get the burn on Meowscarada, and then Focus Blast hits, so you end up getting rid of it anyway. I think that's a pretty good trade. Going Typhlosion for that. No burns on both Infernal Parades, which is kind of crazy. Okay, Goodra. Notably, extremely specially defensive. Kind of a product of Graham's team comp is he has 5 special attacking mons and then 1 physically attacking mon. I probably would have went into Cleaver there and just tried to chunk this, because if you get rid of this, you're actually looking really good with your special attackers, especially if, you know, you have a Scarfer in there and everything to outspeed like Bundle. You know, T-Wave to be annoying, don't hate it. Decent chunk. Gets the para, not bad. Goodra's actually, you know, kind of in a decent position there to go down. Is there a better play? No, I think Ty just made a really solid middle ground play. Instead of going for a ground move, he went for the knockoff, and that it's kind of unavoidable. Just good on Ty for finding that. Big miss Draco. That sucks. But as we can see, that's Assault Vest as shit. 2 Dracos wouldn't have killed. So, yeah, pretty unfortunate. But, you know, you're kind of in a position here. Probably would have went into Golden Go and just saved health on Thundy. But it's got leftovers, so it's coming back up. Not terrible. The Rain Dance. Now I'm remembering this game. Yeah, so at this point, he doesn't have a water resist, losing Hydreigon, obviously, and banded Tauros. Just Oko's Golden Go. Taking 42% recoil is pretty crazy, too. A lot of T-Wave spamming. Don't hate it. Rocks up to break a Sash on either of these guys for Tauros in the endgame, because in the rain, like, Aqua Jet's probably Okos them. Okay. Yeah, okay, now it's coming back to me. The freeze was unfortunate, but I'm pretty sure Tauros just won the game anyway at this point. So what, let's just say Thundurus is nasty plotted up, it gets rid of Uxie, yada yada. Yeah, you know, he ended up thawing out and dying to Future Sight anyway, but I'm pretty sure Bundle plus Tauros ends up winning in the endgame anyway. I want to say it's Booster Energy, but this is a Terra Water Tauros, and Aqua Jet killed Landorus anyway, so Aqua Jet's going to take care of Cleaver, even if it was at 75%. So yeah, as we can see from Tauros already Okoing the 2 of them, if Thundurus didn't freeze, I don't think it changes the game. You know, Uxie goes down, and then you go into Bundle, either force it out, and then it has to take rocks when it comes back in, and then dies the Aqua Jet, or Bundle just gets the kill anyway, and then Tauros just wins the game in the end game. So, yeah, overall, very well played. Ty making that knockoff play with Donphan into Hydreigon, I think, was like the turning point in the match and really got him back in the driver's seat. All right, Burg versus Cordel. This was actually such a sick tech on Burg's end. I didn't know he was actually packing this. But he's got the rough skin Rocky helmet and dragon tail to get rid of a setup sweeper. Just like the perfect primate answer, because it's just so naturally bulky. So he's just getting his hazards up here. Cordel only has Cinderace on this team to get rid of hazards with court change. So Rotom can eat that Dazzling Gleam, come in. Burn's pretty cool. I think I would have went for... Yeah, there's no ground type, so I think I would have just went for the Volt Switch on the Screamtail. But getting a burn on either of them just to whittle them down a little bit's not bad too. And yeah, Burg's just like committing to getting the damage down. I think it was a little risky because Goodra can be like some sort of rest set, so like the burn doesn't really matter on it, and then you know, you're lowering your special attacks, you're not actually able to beat it one-on-one, especially after the acid spray there. But thankfully, you know, for Burg, Cordel wasn't running that rest Goodra. And yeah, man, looking at Cordel's team, Play Rough is just going to claim something. Yeah, no fairy resist. I mean, Cinderace technically, but not really, right? Ancient Power, no boost. Spoiler for next week. Burg really liking that overheat play. I think Volt Switch is probably just the optimal play either way, though. But yeah, he gets a confusion, but hits through it. Gets Primeape out. And I think he hits himself. Yep. Okay. Going Rotom there, I don't hate. I think Mimikyu was pretty free though. Maybe you don't want it to get paralyzed, which is totally fair. So like going Rotom and not being pressured by anything, but it lets Cordel get his rocks up, of course. And as you can see, Overheat's not doing anything to it. Wished out. Go Glade. Ooh, right. I forgot about that. That's actually crazy. All that damage she was working on to get Screamtail down. So Glade's out of the game as an endgame sweeper, but with natural Spadef, it's actually able to live. And dying to Life Orb recoil is actually really sick to get free momentum to get into Mimikyu. And Shadow Sneak picks it up there. So yeah, Mimikyu with the disguise up here is looking insane still. I don't know if Cinderace lives a Life Orb Shadow Sneak from that range. That actually might kill. Burg keeping that health on Mimikyu is obviously pretty good, and Rotom's a pretty free switch. It didn't want to take a high jump kick, but he wouldn't go for that into a Mimikyu anyway. So Rotom did its job, goes down. Umbreon, perfect answer into Dragapult, which is mixed, which is actually really cool. But since it's mixed, it's going to die to Foul Play. It might die to Foul Play anyway, even if it's like fully special. So he lets, yep. Does he have a better play in that situation to not let Primeape get the health back? I don't think it really matters, actually. Waste the Wish. We were talking about something that he could have done. But yeah, okay, he gets that chip. Mimikyu comes in. Super free Shadow Sneak. Okay, so now right here, Play Rough does 50%. And the static goes off. Burg had... I think Burg, if he goes for a Sword Stance on that turn, I think he wins the game, assuming he hits Play Rough, right? Because it prevents a static. If he doesn't have Thunder Wave, so really the only issue would be if he got confused from like a Hurricane, which is unlikely he would go for that into a disguise. So he's probably just going for the T-Bolt here eventually. Yep, there it is. So like the SD I think wins the game automatically for Burg, but because he gets player rough hit and he also doesn't get parried, he's able to pick it up with Shadow Sneak. And I mean, honestly, just super well played. Both ends played really well. I think Cordel brought a team that was a little bit weak to Azumarill and definitely to Mimikyu. Not really having solid fairy resists. Really the only one was Cinderace, and it wasn't wearing boots, so the hazards wore it down. But, you know, Burg got his hazards up and played to his pivot, so just kudos to you, man. Played really great. Alright, MJC and E. I remember this game being a little rough. I think this is Specs Greninja, and it just gets the Oko, turn 1. Yeah, I mean, going down Dozo is probably optimal. It doesn't want to take a special hit, of course, but it's unlikely he's going for a Dark Pulse, so, like, you eat the Water or Ice move, and then you kind of play from there. Yeah, it's pretty tough. And then gets the rocks up. I think you know it's Specs because of the damage. I don't think Dugtrio was necessary at that point. I think Dugtrio staying around for Toxapex and Skeledirge would have been a little bit better. Because now it's going to die to hazards if he gets rocks up with Tusk. So I think you just go Magnezone originally and then like Volt Switch out. Body Press doing negative damage to the Tusky boy. Dondozo, fantastic answer though. Yeah, so like that's why the rocks were kind of silly from Dugtrio there. Magnezone super safe into Toxapex. Doubles out. Backs out, makes sense. Great Tusk is so physically defensive, it doesn't really care if he goes for the Brave Bird there. He can just knock it off and prevent it from doing anything too crazy. The Tornadus play was like really aggressive. I thought it was pretty unnecessary. Like, realistically, what's Dondozo doing to Toxapex? Even like an EQ is just going to bounce off of it. So I think you can just go into Toxapex pretty freely instead of taking all this damage on Torn. Yeah, you probably want Torn around for Hawlucha, but at the end of the day, you still have Dragonite and a healthy Great Tusk, so it doesn't really matter. But, you know, you end up going to Toxapex anyway. Could have saved yourself a little bit of pain. Let's see, is this a DD off of Dragonite? Yep, pretty free. Huge chunk with T-Punch. But multi-skill's broken, so Champal's safe. Ice Shard, bouncing off. Really good defensive cores here out of E. Tusk, Dragonite, Toxapex. Super solid. It's a bulky offense OU team. See, and now you go for the Memento with Dugtrio, and you don't even have rocks up. So just a... I think MJC could have just optimized it a little bit better. Because, you know, how are you stopping it from just Dragon Dancing all over you? You're not. Yeah, T-Punch now is going to do like 80% to you. Ice Shard kills, so at least you're getting it to go back into Toxapex, but how are you making progress on this, right? Got to go with like Psychic Fangs here. I guess the defense drop, that's a roll. You need a really good roll with Crunch to kill at that range. Yeah, MJC just lost too many pieces here, where even though Qianpao can come in, he hadn't gotten rid of Toxapex, so it's never going to actually claim a kill. First up. Get yourself a kill, Dondozo. You deserve it. And with Regenerator, Toxapex is still chilling. Can just come back in on Qianpao. Yeah, I think the early game, I mean, MJC just lost so much momentum leading Enamorus into Specs Greninja. Even if he goes into Dondozo, then it's just like super weak and not able to really check Great Tusk at that point, or even Dragonite. So, you know, I think if he leads something different, he at least has better outplayability, but there wasn't a whole lot other than using Dugtrio to trap Toxapex, which may have just been Shed Shell anyway, so it might not have even worked. That's kind of my guess, is that it was just Shed Shell. And then he tossed a little differential there in the end game, but yeah, no, GG's. He played super well. He's using his defensive mons correctly, and it's super annoying to play against. All right, me versus Tommy to finish out the week. I don't really have any regrets with my team builder in this. Slowking is a totally fine answer to Iron Valiant. Really, I don't have any other switch into it, right? Like, everything else basically gets OHKO'd by Moonblast. But Slowking should be able to handle it by itself, and that was my game plan. Everything else offensively kind of looked really good. Sub-DD Haxorus looked really good into Tommy as well. But, you know, I actually led pretty poorly here. Sandy Shocks is like pretty universal lead, you know, get hazards up or whatever. But so I go for the Scout on the damage here, and also like a potential Terra option out of Hera, but he just saves it, goes for the Trailblaze. I'm going to go Hatterene here, because I'm max Fizdef, so I can tank whatever. And so he goes for the Terra Steel crit Megahorn. If he didn't crit that, I'm looking at a decent position. I'm not great still, because I take a ton of damage with Hatterene, but since he gets a crit, I can't stay in anymore. Also, I completely forgot to Terra my Hatterene on that Megahorn. I was Terra Ghost, so that would have saved me, you know, 30-some%. I would have been in a much better position. But because he gets that crit, he has a super free Megahorn onto anything in my team, and then he can just Trailblaze, boost up, no big deal. So I go Haxorus here. Thankfully, he goes for the Megahorn, and it's my Zoroark because I resisted, I'm able to live, and I hit my Focus Blast. If I missed it, I just got swept by Heracross off lead. That would have been really embarrassing, but whatever. Okay, so he knocks off Black Sludge. I can slack off, no problem. Go for the Future Sight, and I get frozen. And that's pretty much just the end of the game there. Yeah, I just don't have anything for Iron Valiant anymore. And so I'm just trying to burn some turns here and get my my Mon to Thaw, because that's really my only way is to get a slack off back. And realistically, Iron Valiant just comes in at any point now and can just click a button and he's fine. So I'm doing what I can. But yeah, I just need to prevent Valiant from coming in any means necessary. Like, alright, I get the Confuse here. If I have any chance, I have to get a DD up with Haxorus. Gets hit. And then he just makes the aggressive play, which was the right one, and just goes into Valiant. You know, I'm not packing Poison Jab or anything to OHKO this. Which sucks. And if I went for the Dragon Dance there, well, one, he could be Scarfed anyway, and I'd be screwed. Which I think he ended up being, regardless. So yeah, I just needed like the crit of all crits and him to be running like 0 IVs on defense and HP for me to actually kill. But yeah, this is just a Valiant sweep. And GG's. Freeze was unfortunate, but it's Pokemon. What are you going to do? But yeah, that is going to be it for week 3. Week 4 breakdown should be coming out shortly. I'll catch you guys in the Discord. Peace.